Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. I know that today's show is going to be different than what I usually talk about, but I hope that some of you will benefit from some of my thoughts and information about taking care of what I think are also pets, plants, and pets. We'll talk about pet organization, organization and cleaning issues having to deal with your pets, whether it's cats or dogs or horses or whatever, fish, and also the benefits and my care tips for plants and how people can be better plant parents and why I think green thumbs are a myth. So hello to everyone in the chat. Hello, Carmen, my other favorite plant lady. If you guys are not subscribed to Carmen, please subscribe. If you love plants, subscribe. She's fabulous. There it is. Hello, Evelyn. Thanks for coming out, even if you have no pets and no plants. Maybe I will encourage you to go out and buy a little plant friend of your own by the end of the stream. Hello, Tina. Hello, Mash. Hello, everyone coming in. Hello, Claudia. Hello, guys coming in. So the first thing I want to say is I believe that green thumbage, and thank you for saying my Calathea is lovely, because this is Calathea Freddy, by the way, the least dramatic of all of my Calathea family. Do I say that about more than one? I think I do. But this and the rattlesnake are the least dramatic of all of these plants in this genus that I own. Some of them are just divas and require a lot of attention, but I'll put her down on the floor. The first thing I want to say about plant ownership, if you have no idea, or if you're looking to get into having houseplants, is they have a huge benefit to your environment. They bring in the green, and we know that green is the easiest color for your eye to process. It can be very relaxing, and if you are not the kind of person who will engage in a silent meditation and like one of those still meditations, I find personally that taking care of plants, if you have more than like maybe 5, is a very meditative activity and can be sort of a moving meditation for you. It can lower your blood pressure, all kinds of good benefits from just simply caring for a plant. So if you believe, in the UK, they say they have green fingers rather than green, but that's hilarious. Carmen says Calatheas are her nemesis. And I do agree that some, and we'll discuss, some plants require a lot more attention, and maybe not so much about attention, but a different environment than we can provide than others. So there are a number of, and I believe that having a green thumb or having a black thumb, respectively, is a myth. So I believe that the reason that most people fail with their houseplants, or that they, don't succeed with keeping their houseplants alive, is that they don't have enough information to give them the environment that they need and want, or give them the things that they need and want. So plants have a few basic needs: light, nutrients, water, and relative air humidity. So certain plants are going to need more of that humidity, and certain plants are going to need less of that watering. So some people get beautiful plants and they water them essentially to death by drowning them, either by putting them in pots that have no holes at the bottom, or they just water them too often and then the plant gets root rot and dies. So a little bit of education before you bring your plant home is really important, I think, if you're looking into getting some plants to enrich your home. If you live in a place with like all north-facing windows, a plant that's going to need a lot of sunlight is probably not going to thrive in your home. So I think the main way you can succeed with plants is by just arming yourself with a little bit of knowledge. Just arm yourself with knowledge. There are a couple of plant apps that you can download onto your phone. One of my favorite ones is called Picture. Is it called Picture This? I think I will see. I haven't prepared very much for this stream, so I apologize, you guys. But I will definitely put links down in the description at the end of the week if I can remember. Please remind me if I forget. But it is called Picture This. It's not the greatest, and every time I open this, they want me to pay for it, but I refuse to pay for it. I think it's only worth paying for if you are trying to identify plants several times a day, like several times a day. Otherwise, you can, take a couple pictures a day of plants and have them identified, and it's worth it. So what happens with this app is you'll take a picture of a plant and it will give you the information about it, what it is, and what it needs. Actually, I'm going to try it on, but it's not always accurate. Okay. So I'm going to try it with this one and see if it can identify it and tell me all about it. So I'm going to take a picture. Here we go. And here it's working, and it's identified it as prayer plant. So it's given me basic information about the genus, but it hasn't given me information about the species. But in general, that's pretty good, because it'll tell me because this entire genus will probably need a lot of the same environment, although some are more tolerant than others. And just identify what kind of person you are, so that you can give your plant what it needs. Like if you are somebody who loves to dote on things, and I am this kind of person, and I realize this, I love to dote on things, then you might be happier with a plant that needs a little bit more TLC or likes to be watered a little bit more. Like these guys like to be pretty moist all the time, or like a peace lily won't mind if you water it a little more, or if you love to water and are like you just need to do it, because I know that feeling where you're just like, just need to water the plant. You can get smaller plants in like really tiny pots, like little like individual plants. Randy, thanks for subscribing. because it'll dry out faster and you'll need to water it more. That's what I found. It is very satisfying to water plants. There's something about it. I don't know what it is. If you're a person who likes to ignore plants, hi, 80 Blessed. Hi, how are you? I'm looking at the chat every now and again. Hey, Brandon. If you're the kind of person who just doesn't want to make the time to like water it, take care of it, wash it, all that stuff, because some plants like to be have their leaves washed off. Washing off leaves has other benefits. I'll talk about that later. Then you might need something that doesn't like to be watered at all, like a sansevieria, or I guess they're called Dracaena now. I can't get next to that. So snake plant, or something that needs to dry out completely, like a cactus, which is basically succulent and holds on to all of its water. And you'll know when it needs to be. You'll know when it needs to be watered. But in general, you can just ignore it, put it in the window, and just let it enrich your environment. Hi guys, hi everybody. Thanks for coming into the live stream. I'm saying hi to everyone who's entering the chat now. So, and you want to make sure what direction your windows are facing, and that way you could either, one of either two things could happen. You could give your plant insufficient light, into which it will probably do okay, but it won't really thrive. Or you could put it in like a south facing window and it could not be able to handle that amount of sunshine, and you'll scorch it or burn it. And that's really unfortunate. I have burned a plant before, and it's like a sad thing. So just be careful. And the other thing I want to say is, if you're afraid to get into plants, there are a few basic species that it will probably be more difficult to kill than others. Dracaena, that meaning the snake plants, bamboo do pretty well. Actually, bamboo can be a little challenging, but for the most part can do pretty well. Monstera, I feel like all the species of Monstera are really very tolerant and very forgiving if you forget to water. If you ignore it for a little while, they usually do okay, and they're beautiful. Those are those Instagram famous plants with the splits. Some people call them a Swiss cheese plant or split leaf philodendron, even though it is not a philodendron. Don't let anybody tell you that. Philodendron is an entirely different genus. Monstera is its own genus. But that's the plant we're talking about. So what else is really easy to take care of? All of the pothos. I say that with hesitation, because even though I do see pothos everywhere, there's beautiful leafed plant with some of the golden speckles on it. It can be quite easy to kill them if you overwater it. So just be careful with pothos. But I feel like philodendron, the common heartleaf philodendron, can be a little bit more forgiving even than the pothos. And pothos is epipremnum, I believe. There's a lot of confusion around the Latin names for plants and the common name for plants. I tend to try and use the Latin names because it's less confusing, because there is a plant called pothos, but it's not the same one that we refer to as pothos, epipremnum. So it can be very confusing if you refer to plants by their common names a lot of the time. But if you're just in casual plant stuff, you don't really need to remember all of the Latin names. How is my pancake plant doing? Oh, thank you, Carmen, for bringing up ZZ plant. ZZ plant's great, because if all you have to do is ignore it. And I'm also subscribed to a gentleman by the name of Nick Pileggi, and he says if you water your ZZ plant more often than you pay your rent, you're watering it too much. My pancake plant, so that's a plant actually with many nicknames, and I will go grab it. I should have grabbed many plants to show you, but it's doing better. It's doing a lot better. This is Pilea peperomoides. So this is also called pancake plant because it looks like pancakes. It's also called UFO plant, friendship plant, Chinese money plant, and I think it's called some other thing. It probably needs watered, but it's doing a lot better. I was having some trouble taking care of this. And here's another thing about becoming a plant parent, okay? You will make mistakes. You will have plants die. you will have plants not thrive. You will have leaves fall off. You will have, hopefully, I'm not wishing this on anybody, you might have pests come into your home, but that is all part of the process. And I was having a lot of trouble taking care of this one in particular because there's something about this genus that I don't understand. So I was watering it and it seemed okay, and then I repotted it, but I started watering it from the bottom, and it was much happier when I did that, and I only watered it when it needed it and not on a regular schedule. So the next thing I want to talk about is watering and how to navigate it, because it gets really tricky for people with plants. So I'm going to look at the chat really quick. What's the best place to buy indoor plants? You know what? Anywhere you find them. I've found really nice plants even at big box stores. Even at big box stores, I found really, really cool plants. So anywhere you can find really cool plants, I just inspect them before you bring them home to make sure they don't have any pests on them. And that's another thing. Before you bring plants home, just take a moment and look very closely at the stems, look at the soil. I mean, if you're really nosy, you can pull it out of the soil and look at the roots, but sometimes stores don't really like that. But look at the back of the leaves, because that's a lot of the time where pests hide. You just make sure the plant is healthy before you bring it home. Sometimes it's really tempting to bring home a sick plant and try to nurse it back to health, but that's not really fun usually for you if it fails, and it can jeopardize the rest of your plants at home if you do that. So I would refrain from doing that. I don't do it very much, but let's see. Oh no, people are asking about. Everyone's talking about fungus gnats. Oh my gosh, fungus gnats. Brandon, I haven't bought any plants from Bloomscape because they're very expensive. I've been on the Bloomscape website, but I've found that it's very expensive. Very expensive. So in terms of watering goes, everyone's, you sometimes ask me about a watering schedule, and I always steer people away from watering schedules because plants don't have schedules. And you just have to play it by ear, and the plant will tell you when it needs to be watered. This plant is in a pot with a hole in the bottom. There's also some mesh here to stop the dirt from coming out, but it's also inside a little cash pail. So this pot doesn't have a hole. This one does have a hole. When you water, make sure you water thoroughly, that the water comes out the bottom of the pot, and that's all you need to water, as long as all the water is going all the way through down to the bottom, because some plants, if you just water superficially, it'll stay at the top of the soil. The plant can become sort of top heavy and the whole thing will fall over. So you want to make sure that you water the soil completely and thoroughly, and you want to make sure it has proper drainage. So do not plant plants in these pots with no hole. If you can drill a hole at the bottom if you'd like, but if you don't have the means to do that, then just put another pot inside. That's what I do. I put all my pretty pots on the outside and have my, this is just, not that this pot isn't pretty. It's kind of pretty. I like these sort of gray, brown, terracotta pots, but I don't know. I put her inside this. It probably needs repotted, to be honest. But don't plant your pots in pots with no holes in them, because they will be very sad and drown. If you do it, and I do have one plant, I'm sorry, now I have two. I didn't want to do this. I have two plants in pots without holes, and I don't recommend it, because every time that you water it, you're going to have to wait till the water goes down to the bottom, and then completely turn it upside down and drain the water out that way, and that's a nightmare. So I would strongly advise you to not buy plant pots and plant them in pots that don't have holes in them. They're just for decoration. So put your hold pot inside. And the material of the pot also makes a difference on whether or not your plant is happy. Some plants who like to be wet all the time, or moist, I will use the word moist, like this guy. likes to be moist all the time. So I've got her I've called it a her and a he at the same time. It's she's fluid. It's fluid. I've got it in a ceramic pot, so it holds a little bit more of the moisture, glazed ceramic. If this were in a terracotta pot, terracotta will wick the moisture out of the pot really quickly, and it will be drier before I can water it again, and it won't be super happy. So plants that like to be watered a little bit less, or that like a little bit of a drier environment, will like a terracotta pot. Plants that like a little bit of moisture, the jungle plants, they love like a seal glazed pot, or like a plastic pot. And every now and again, I was talking about like watering. I used to think that it was okay to like plant a plant in something with no holes, and I've killed so many plants that way that just drowned. They drowned everywhere. It was so sad. So certain plants, and as a general rule, when you go around and dust, I would also get your plants into that dusting routine as well, because the dust on plants can create a couple of problems. One being it interferes a little bit with photosynthesis. You want your plants to thrive. So if there's a thick layers of dust on all the leaves, your plant can't photosynthesize very well. And dust often attracts critters that we don't want. And most notably, spider mites love dust. Hello, Dee. Spider mites love the dust. They love it. They thrive. They thrive on dryness. They thrive on dust. And certain plants are a lot more prone to get spider mites. Everything in this family, this Marine TCA family, I keep grabbing it because it's right beside me, tend to attract spider mites. And I feel like 100% at some point, if you have 2 or 3 of these, you will encounter them at some point, but you'll be less likely to if you give the plant a bath every week and keep the area around it moist. So I would definitely dust your plants and keep them clean. Just give them a once over. You don't have to go crazy, but I do find a benefit from giving your plant a bath every now and again, and giving it a nice humid environment so it can be like, chilling at the beach. Let your plant chill at the beach once a week, and it will be so much happier. So much happier. That's what you guys are saying down in the chat. I was repotted into a pot with no hole, but now I learned to leave it in the nursery pot. Yes. So another thing that a lot of people do, and there's sort of a mixed opinions about whether or not it's prudent to repot a plant as soon as you bring it home, or whether or not it like shocks the plant because of the change of environment. I think that I think that it might not matter. I've done both. I usually just leave them in their nursery pot and put them in the cash bow, and after a number of months, or when it looks like they need it, I'll repot the plant. But I haven't really seen any ill effects from repotting a plant right away after I bring it home. If it's in a bad pot, or if it's in like a mushy substrate when it comes home and I feel like it's not going to make it, I'll repot it into something a little better, and it will, its life will improve. So, I've had some plants I've had in a cash bow. Some plants I've had in the nursery pot for like over a year, and they've been totally cool, and some I've just repotted right away and they've been cool. Marlena, by the way, I got your question, Marlena. It's the best way to dust your pothos that has 5,000 leaves. Put it in the shower. Take your plant, put it in the shower, and if you have one of those sprayer nozzles, just go spray it down. That knocks a lot of the dust off, and it'll make your pothos super happy, like extra happy, because it's getting all this humidity. Because pothos is a tropical plant, yes. So a lot of the plants that we have in our homes are tropical plants, from the jungle, and they love that humid environment. And if we give it to them for a little bit, they love it. They love it. They're not going to be upset. And you asked in my community tab about the benefit of putting coffee grounds in your potted plants. I have not done that personally, and I would not do it with indoor plants, because I feel like you're going to have fungus issues. and like mold issues, but I would do it outside. I would try it outside if you have any potted plants outside, or if you have a garden outside, I would try it. It can also, it's a little acidy and can create some, not all plants like acid soil. These guys do. They love it. But some plants don't. They like either a neutral soil or, I don't think a lot of plants like alkaline soil, but some like a more acidic soil. But I would refrain from using your coffee grounds. I would just compost those dudes. Carmen says, yeah, I don't think it matters either. Usually wait a month before repotting. Yeah, I will wait a while before I repot it. I got this beautiful Hoya publicalyx over there that I am dying to repot, but I've left it alone. I got it in April. Actually, I'll go bring it over. We'll go bring it. Look at her. Look at her. And speaking of where you can buy plants, if you're still not going out, you can definitely buy plants online. I got this beautiful Hoya publicalyx from Etsy, actually, and it's growing a very long tendril. This has been growth that's happened over the last couple of weeks, actually, and she's going crazy. This tendril has increased in size over the past, I think, probably like 7 days, but it is still in its original pot. And it says the Plant Diaries. That's the lady I bought her from. But it is a really lovely specimen, and it's still in its little nursery pot, and I just put it in this cashpo that I got from Marshall's, because Marshall's has the best pots. Carmen, can you agree that Marshall's and Home Goods have the best pots? Because pots are, for some reason, pots are very expensive. I don't understand, especially the ones that like plant stands are also really expensive. Like, why? But Marshall's, you get some deals. Yeah. So also, if you are, I think Hoya as a genus is a good plant for somebody who is a beginner and doesn't want to take a lot of care of, doesn't want to really dote over this plant, because I feel like these leaves are really succulent and can go for a little while without watering, and they're generally very hardy. They do have a tendency to attract mealy bugs, which, don't get me started about mealy bugs. So we'll talk a little bit about pests briefly. I just want to hold it. We'll talk a little bit about pests. So some of the pests that you might encounter if you have houseplants are aphids, mealybugs, spider mites. I hate spider mites, you guys. What else? Scale. But mealybug is a type of scale, but mealybug is one in particular that I see more than the other type of scale. You might have ants, but ants don't really bother the plants. But probably the biggest annoyance for most people are fungus gnats, and these are like they're like fruit flies, but they're not red, they're black, and they fly around real slow, and they fly around the soil, and they land on it, and they lay eggs there and breed there, and then they are all over your house. They fly into your face, they fly into your mouth and your nose. It's awful, and they're very hard to get rid of. So there is a product called Mosquito Bits, which I highly recommend because it worked for me. I had the worst infestation of fungus gnats because I have like a million plants, and they were everywhere. And it comes from having your soil very moist. So if you have a lot of plants who like moist soil, or you're watering too much, that might cause a fungus gnat infestation. But I also find that if you lay some sand on top of the soil, that can stop them a little bit too. But the Mosquito Bits worked the best. Aphids are disgusting. Okay. Like, they're disgusting. Like, I personally, I'm going to knock on wood right now, have never seen aphids in here, because I feel like when they appear like a giant army on like one plant, and they'll be like, you won't see like one, you'll see like 100, and they are disgusting. Disgusting. Picture of product, please. I will go grab it. Mosquito Bits. I have mosquito bits. So you can use these a couple of different ways. You can put this in your water to make a tea for your plants, and you can water your plants with this, I guess, mosquito bits tea, or you can put some of the mosquito bits on top of the soil or even like in the soil, and water your plants. That I find can be a little bit moldy. They can, the actual mosquito bit pieces, and I think it's I think what it is, it's a type of fungus. Is that what this is? That it kills flies specifically. So it is it's a bacillus. Oh, I can't read this word. Thuringiensis subspecies. Oh, okay. Well, that tells me it's a fungus or a bacteria that kills. It specifically kills flies over time. It's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen. You have to treat it and then treat them again. And the other solution to do with fungus gnats is to start watering your plants from the bottom instead of from the top. This takes all day, but you can. It's very good at getting rid of fungus gnats. Hey guys, okay, I heard that ladybugs are great for aphids. They are. They love aphids. Yes, if you are willing to use a little insect warfare, I have been very close to ordering lacewings to kill insects. If you're comfortable with having those in your home, you probably won't see them until they're adults and fly. And I think they just fly away or they eat each other, which is kind of weird to think about. But I've been very close to ordering predatory mites for the spider mite issue, but I haven't gotten there yet. The other thing that works really well on killing insects is neem oil. This specifically kills insects, so I'd be very careful using this outside if there's, bees around in your neighborhood, but definitely inside. This will effectively get rid of, insects, which does not include spider mites because they're not insects, right? But you have to. The thing about this is it's an organic thing, and it somehow it like stops them from eating. Like it messes with like the brains of bugs. But you have to use this like over and over and over again, like over a period of weeks in order to kill whatever pest is on your plant. If you don't have time for that, you can definitely use like a regular insecticide. I think Bonide, the company that makes this, makes a really good systemic insecticide, but keep in mind it is an insecticide, very toxic. So I'm more like to lean towards things like this and insect warfare than insecticides, because I just worry about clover. What is the biggest plant you have? The biggest plant I have is probably, I have 3 larger plants and they're all the same size. I have a really big Monstera deliciosa. Well, it's not big, but it's big. It's on the big side. My snake plant is pretty large. My Adansonii, my Monstera Adansonii is getting up there to be like a monster. Like I just looked at it the other day and I was like, what happened to you? And my philodendron burl marks is pretty big. That's another big plant. I'd like to have a really, really big one, like a really big rubber plant, but I haven't gotten around to going to buy it yet. I might soon. Who knows? Because I'm itching to do. Carmen says you can use the neem oil as a preventative routine monthly. Yes, you can do that if you're willing to like go in. And that's what I've been doing with the plants that had issues prior, and then after I've gotten rid of the issue, I'll go and like do like a monthly, like take a bath and like have some neem oil. The only thing is like don't put your plant directly in the sunlight after you've treated it with neem oil, because you will burn the crap out of it. Burn the crap. Amber Reed, I found out recently that green lacewing larvae are great for eating pests like spider mites. Yes. I'm telling you, I was this close this winter to buying like lacewings or predatory mites, because the spider mites were just getting out of control. And the other thing I want to say that if your infestation, if you have a plant that has spider mites and it has like webbing all over it, sometimes it is too late and you need to let that plant go. I mean, sometimes if you want to battle the battle, I mean, that's up to you, but sometimes it's better to just compost the plant and start over with a different one, because you can infect the rest of your plant population in your home if you allow it to spread. And spider mites, they love to walk and spread. When you water from the bottom, how long do you leave them standing? It depends on the plant and depends on the pot. I find that the terracotta pots I will have to leave them for longer, because the terracotta itself will actually soak up some of the water as well, which I don't think the plant minds, because it leaches out really quickly after that, but it doesn't go into the soil as quickly. With a plastic pot, it's much faster. So you can buy a moisture meter, and Carmen was saying before that definitely a moisture meter is very useful for if you don't feel confident in knowing whether or not your plant soil is moist or not. So you can stick it in, and you can stick it when you use a moisture meter is like $8. It's really cheap. You can stick it into the soil, and when you're probing the plant, you can probe. I would probe in different areas of the pot just to make sure, because a lot of us don't water, like this. We'll stick the watering can and we'll just kind of water maybe a couple of places. I try to be really thorough, but sometimes one part of the soil will be dry, and then like 2 inches over, it'll be completely soaked. So just make sure you probe the pot in a couple of different areas, and you can see whether or not it's dry and it needs it, or whether or not it's wet and you need to stop watering. So sometimes when I bottom water, I'll pick it up and I'll feel if it's heavier, and if it feels heavy to me, then I'm like, okay, it's probably good. Or if I can't tell, I'll just stick a probe in there and see where we're at. Any advice on fruit-bearing plants or herbs? Not inside. I mean, confession, I have grown fruit-bearing plants inside. In particular, I grew like tiny tomatoes inside. And this was maybe 10 years ago. But it's hard without supplemental light and heat, right? So things like tomatoes love hot weather and lots of sunlight. And if you're not prepared to give that plant all of that stuff, you're probably not going to be very successful. But I mean, the little like Tom Thumb tomato plant was really cute. If it was, because it was under like a grow light, and it produced some fruits, and it was really fun. And then you just start over again. But herbs are tricky inside. I haven't been super successful with plants inside, because I don't have one of those like arrow garden lights, which I think would be really great. But I'm not prepared to give herbs the amount of light they need to survive or to thrive inside. I think they can survive. Like, surviving and thriving for plants are like two different things, right? Like I have some plants that are like, they're okay. Like, they're not going to die. They're okay. And then I have some plants that are like thriving. So, if you want your herbs to thrive, I would put them outside in the sunlight. And I actually bought several herbs and lettuce that I'm going to plant together today. So that'll be a video. But outdoor planting things, edible, growing edible things inside is a whole other ball game. Like, I'm gonna be honest, because usually these aren't like, they're not like jungle plants, right? They're just, plants that are in our usual northern hemisphere environment. And they have all of these different needs. And sometimes when you grow edible plants inside, you can attract way more pests than you would either outside or with normal, what we think of as regular houseplants. So I would do more research. How do you fix an inherited root-bound plant? What kind of plant is it, Boston Writer Girl? Because you probably should repot it if it's root-bound. So when you repot plants, you want to repot them in a pot that is a little larger and a little deeper than its current environment, and you want to make sure that you very carefully remove from the soil. If you feel like the soil is no good anymore, you can totally replace the soil, but just make sure you loosen the roots just a little bit. I'm not a big subscriber on to like really getting in there and like loosening them a lot. I think they know what to do when there's more root, right? I just loosen them just a little bit at the bottom and put them in their new pot, but just make sure it's like maybe a couple inches bigger all around and a couple inches deeper, and that will give it some room to grow, because otherwise it's it won't thrive. Yes, moisture meter is so good. Does anyone have a fiddle fig that keeps them awake? I've heard, I don't have a fiddly fig, Amber. I've heard they are divas. So I'm afraid to get one because they, ficus, I think in general, have a lot of, they're very fussy plants. Like I feel like they need a lot of humidity and like special needs. I have my rubber plant over there, my Ficus elastica. She had spider mites, and it didn't actually. One of the stalks completely died off in winter. I was like, what? And it didn't grow like all winter. It didn't start growing until, well, it was, to be fair, it wasn't the growing season. And if you don't know, plants do have a growing season usually between spring and fall. And they usually kind of stop in wintertime, with the exception of peperomias, which grow in the winter because they're weirdos. But usually a lot of plants just kind of shut down a little bit. Then they're not going to die, but they're not going to like do any amazing growth. So I was very surprised when my rubber plant started growing again in March. But I found it to be very fickle. So yeah, I've heard the fiddly fig, they're so cute. Like, I'm not going to lie, I want one, but like it looks like such a diva. Do you name your plants? I do not. I think I had one that had a name, and then I think it died. So I don't name my plants. A, because I have quite a few of them, and B, because if they die, then that's sad because they had a name. The name I give them is the name they are called. So I'll say I have, Calathea Freddy, which is a weird name to me because that's not like, because I guess this is like a hybrid plant, so it doesn't really have a proper Latin name. But I mean, this is just called Pilea peperomoides. That's a mouthful, by the way, Pilea peperomoides. And I found out that I guess the suffix oides means looks like. And there's another genus of plants that are called peperomia, and so the name means looks like peperomia. So once you learn what the Latin names mean, they make a lot of sense, and that's how I remember them. Because if I didn't know what that means, I'd be like, what is Pilea peperomoides? And I know it because it says this is Pilea, but looks like peperomia, which is kind of funny. I worked at Mahoney's for several summers. Why didn't I remember any of this? I love Mahoney's. I can't go in there. Is Mahoney's a national chain or is it a regional thing? I don't know. But like Mahoney's, I can't. It's like an amazing nursery. I can't go in there. I can't go in there. We might just talk about the whole time about plants. You have fiddly fig, Brandon. Oh, that's right. You do. I saw a picture of it. I think that did I see a picture of it? I don't remember. I think I'm so afraid to get one because I'm afraid that I will kill the thing, because I've seen like leaves falling off, all kinds of nonsense going on with fiddly figs. But I'm very tempted to get one. Very tempted. Let's see. Oh, Carmen coming in with the knowledge. Fiddly figs love bright and direct light. It's the watering they can be divas. Okay, I see. Do they not like inconsistent watering? Can you get into drubs with that? Because that's something that that can be really tricky. So the thing with watering plants is that they don't have a schedule, right? They're plants. So in summertime or in the growing season, they might need more water because they're using more energy to make more foliage or flower or whatever they're doing. In the wintertime, they may use less water because they're sleeping basically. So they might not take up as much water in their soil. So you might water a plant every 5 days in the summer, and you may go to water that plant in the winter, on the 5th day, and find that the soil is still moist. So the thing I advise with watering plants is that you get a moisture meter and go ahead and probe your plant and double check, or you eventually, and I encourage this more than I encourage using the moisture meter, is that you will learn to speak the plant's language. And I know that that sounds really earthy, crunchy, and like new agey, but plants have sometimes a very clear language about whether or not they need water. You can feel, sometimes you can feel the leaves. If they have succulent leaves, they'll feel a little bit softer. You'll be able to squeeze it more. You can feel the petioles, which is this little part between the stem and the leaf. Sometimes in this one in particular, the petiole will be really sort of sad looking and more than usual, because I mean it does this anyway, but it'll be more than that than usual. Or the leaf will feel very malleable. Like if you have a spider plant and it needs to be watered, you'll touch the leaves and it'll just feel like it needs water. And pothos are very expressive. They'll just be like, they'll look really sad when they need watering. So most plants you can tell. Some plants are really difficult to tell. So you will need that moisture probe, but for the most part, they will speak to you. Even these plants, I keep bringing back these plants. These Calatheas even have a fun, well, it's not fun for them, but it's an interesting mechanism where if they need water and they need to preserve their water, they will actually fold in their, well, you can't see. They will fold in their leaves like that. If I take my hand away, they'll fold in their leaves like that. And that in an effort, I think, to protect water loss, because it'll shade themselves from the sun so that they'll hold on to some of their water. So if your Calathea looks like that, then you know you're in big trouble, because that's actually a late stage like water stress move for a Calathea. So is it me or plants in fashion? You know what they are? Claudia, I'll put your thing on the screen. Plants are in fashion. I think it hasn't just started. It started a few years ago, and it started mainly with millennials, I think. But I am not a millennial. I'm a zennial, so I'm slightly before millennial. But plants started to become back in fashion, and lately, especially due to the pandemic, people are looking for activities to do. So I think the popularity of plant keeping has exploded, because people are at home. They need stuff to do, and they need things to care for, and it can ease a little bit of the pandemic anxiety. I've felt definitely that it's helped to have plants in my environment while this has been going on. A, because I'm here more often, and B, because if I take 3 hours and do, and that's how long I'll spend, I'm not gonna lie, doing plant chores. I have a large number of houseplants. It's very relaxing and makes me forget for 3 hours that there is a very serious situation going on in the world. And it's very meditative. The last thing I want to say is you definitely need to be careful if you have pets. We didn't get to talk about pets, but the plants are my pets. Definitely need to be mindful if you have pets in particular. I know that cats are very into chomping and trying the leaves. So just be mindful that a lot of your houseplants are going to be pretty toxic if eaten by either pets or humans. So just be mindful that either they're out of their reach, or that that you keep only pet safe plants if you are not able to keep them out of their reach. And in particular, just for a fun piece of trivia, if you have a spider plant and a cat, your cat will want to eat this plant because something inside the spider plant, it's not going to kill them, but something inside the spider plant makes them high, and they love to eat it. So just beware, if your cat is attacking your spider plant, there's a legit reason why you need to remove. Your spider plant will not survive your fight with a cat. So all species of Calathea are pet safe. Even though these are very much diva plants, they're too beautiful. I can't resist. Carmen knows. I cannot resist. There are a couple that I think aren't worth it, but in general, I think that they're so beautiful and they move their leaves all day that I just can't resist. Do lightly shake your leaves. Touch them lightly to Energize them. I don't touch them to re-energize them. I don't shake the leaves. The only time I've shaken the leaves is if I've gotten the plant wet. I need to shake off the excess moisture before I put it back in its home. And I try to refrain from touching my plant's leaves, but I do sometimes. I'm a leaf petter. They say you're not supposed to really like pet them, touch them a lot, but I do. But I try to avoid it. Some plants really don't like it if you touch them. I feel like there's a plant that really doesn't like it if you touch the leaves. I feel like maidenhair fern might be that plant. And by the way, if you're a new plant parent, do not buy a maidenhair fern. You will kill it in 5 days. I mean, if you don't, you're a plant Santa Claus or plant Jesus. My Christmas cactus has not flowered in years. So plants that flower have to be stimulated in some kind of way to flower, and there's a whole method in putting it in a dark place for a while and letting it go dormant and then taking it out again and giving it light, which will cause it to flower. I don't know the exact procedure, but there's definitely a way to do it to trigger the blooming that happens. But it has to do with whether or not it goes dormant or not. If it's like getting a crazy sunlight all year and it's like, yeah, it probably is not going to flower. I think you have to change its environment a little bit. And sometimes it just might be random, you know. I know that my mom has a Christmas cactus that flowers not every year. I think like every other year. And she says only a few blooms come. So, just be nice to it. You might want to repot it. Give it some fertilizer. And I've killed a plant by over fertilizing it too. So don't go crazy with fertilizer, and don't treat fertilizer as a medicine for plants. It's not. It's just food. And most of your like everyday potting soil is gonna have fertilizer in it. So I would refrain from like fertilizing it for a while. Only if you've like completely changed the soil, or if it's been a long time, then I would go ahead and get some fertilizer. And I would steer clear from synthetic fertilizers, because some plants can't take it. This plant in particular can't take it. All the leaves would turn brown, and it burns the foliage. It's real sad. So I would get an organic fertilizer, or just get worm castings, because like worm poop is just as good as any fertilizer. Christmas cactus is so pretty, and Thanksgiving cactus, I guess, is super, super pretty. Yes, thank you, Carmen. ASPCA has a list of toxic plants. It's going to be like most philodendrons and pothos and like most aroids, I guess. But, you just be mindful. And I don't know if you guys saw, but like during Vlogmas, Clover did try to eat some of my Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, and I had to observe him for 24 hours, but he did fine. He just ate like one leaf, and he wasn't sick or anything. But he was a bad boy. I wasn't mad about the plant, but I was mad about Clover eating. Tabitha, this is I got this from a store called, this is Calathea Freddy. This is a hybrid of, I don't know what Calathea this came from, but I got it from a store called Niche in Boston, and that's my favorite. It's a fancy plant store. The prices are so ridiculous, but they have all the interesting plants, and they have really nice staff that work there. And I got this last year, and it's twice as big as it was when I brought it home. So it's my least dramatic of all of these Calatheas that I have in my house. Some of them I'm like, you have spider mites all the time, you have to go. But this one just like no drama, and it's just pretty. Look at it. Look how pretty it is. Like, come on. How pretty is that? Like, come on. So pretty. It's got a couple of brown tips. And a lot of these guys will get brown tips because they don't like tap water, because they're divas. I always give this distilled water, but it still gets a little bit of brown edges because of the humidity probably, but still, she's still killing it. Stunning. Ridiculous. Katie says she finally figured out maidenhair ferns. Well, tell us your secret. Are you growing it in a bubble? Are you growing it in a cloche, under a cloche? I'm afraid of maidenhair ferns. I haven't gotten one. I've heard they are very difficult because of the humidity concerns, and I heard you can't touch them. But the thing is gorgeous. And if you guys don't know what maidenhair fern looks like, Google it right now. You will die from the beauty. It's so beautiful. But like, I'm afraid. Calatheas are my favorite, but they begin on my nerves. I mean, same. I have a couple of Calatheas over there that I'm like ready to toss in the trash because I'm like, why are you so difficult? Like, what is your problem? But I'm not giving up on them quite yet. You know, I'm gonna hold on. Can jade survive the Pacific Northwest or cold weather? I'm assuming it's outside. If it's outside, I would bring it in the winter time for sure. Because I don't think it's gonna do well outside in the winter time. Because I feel like jade plant is that crassula. I don't know if they are. I don't think that you can overwinter that. Don't give up on it. Just bring it inside. Sorry if this has been asked. I'm late. How do you use planters without drainage holes? So we did talk about that. So the main takeaway is that if you have a pot with no drainage hole, drill a hole in it or don't put a plant directly in it because you're gonna drown it. So this is a cash po. Ooh, I can like sit directly in it. Hello. It makes a weird echoing sound. Hello. I don't know why you guys watch me sometimes. So it's a cash po, and I could put my ugly pot directly in it, and then it's pretty. So I mean, I wish it fit all the way in here, but that's another story. So most of my plants fit all the way in their cash pos. But yes, don't pot directly in, or you're going to have to completely invert it to drain the water out when you water it, and that's a pain in the butt. No one wants to do that. Nobody wants to do that. She's given us the tea on the maidenhair fern. South facing window with a curtain. With a curtain with no direct light. Okay, it's with your orchids. Mist them every day. The misting. The misting is like, there's also like a controversy about misting. Is it good? Is it helpful? Does it cause fungus? I find misting to be incredibly satisfying. I don't do it as much as I used to, but I mean, if you like doing it, it's kind of fun and satisfying. If you find your plants have mold on them, then you might stop. Oh, look, there he goes. There's the clover bean. Clover, you want to say hi to people? Hey, no, wait, come here. I think he was going to go see his dad, but I would let you guys see him before he leaves. Look how tired he looks. He went on an hour walk, so he looks like he wants to kill everybody. But why are you in such a bad mood? Do you want to go see your daddy in the other room? Is that why you were getting up? Okay, I'll let you go. They just wanted to see you. Yeah, Brandon, we're going to have to do pets next week because I talked so much about plants. Curly girl is no such thing as a black thumb. You can do it. 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 You don't need luck. You just need a little bit of knowledge. So after this goes off the air, you go back and watch the replay. All you need is a little info. You got to have some info, but you can do it because all you need is a little bit of knowledge and you'll be fine. We bring it inside during winter, but outside in summer. I think that's fine. Your jade plant. I think it'll be great. I water all my plants with distilled water. I wish I could do that. I would totally do that if I could. I mean, I could. Let's be honest. For a while I was, just so I wasn't getting into this thing about like some of the plants I would take to the sink and some of them I would do with distilled water, and it was getting real, but in general now, since I don't want to go to the stores often, so I just use the distilled water for the ones that get upset about the regular tap water. And our tap water here in Boston is pretty okay. It's pretty okay. Yeah, a lot of West Elm pots don't have drainage. What's up with that? What is up with that? Like, I love West Elm, but sometimes, actually, I went to West Elm like last winter, And I was looking at they like have a make your own like succulent arrangement section, which I thought was really cool, but it was like so expensive. And I was like, I love you, West Elm, but like, what are you doing right now? So I would and they have the coolest pots in West Elm, like the coolest. The other place that has the coolest pots that I'm mad about right now is one of those anthropology subsidiaries called Terrain. But right now we're not shopping there because they'd be racially profiling. I actually haven't checked up on them in a while since that whole controversy came out, but they have this subsidiary of like gardening home items called Terrain, and they have some gorgeous pots. Like, it's not even funny. And I'm like, I can't shop there. It's just too expensive anyway. So, I mean, it would have been like a splurge. Do I have a eucalyptus plant? I don't. I mean, what are they? I mean, they smell good. They smell good. I have but I've never been inspired to get one. West Elm style is great, but their quality and practicality isn't on par with their pricing. Yeah. I mean, like I'd be lying if I say like I don't shop there, because I mean, obviously I have a bunch of West Elm furniture, and but some things are like, I'm like, why this price? I love seeing the clover emojis in the chat. That is so fun. I need to make some more because I think that I have the maximum amount of slots now to have the emojis, because after a certain amount of time, after a certain amount of people become members, you get more emoji slots. So I will make more emoji slots soon. I have fun making them because I don't know, it's so fun. It's so fun. Yes, Curly Girl, you can do it. You can be a plant parent. You can be a good plant parent. My friend uses tap water and leaves it out overnight before giving it to her plants. I've heard of that. Sometimes I've heard that I think that it depends. Well, it depends on your tap water. First of all, if you know what's in your tap water, it can give you some knowledge, but I don't know if that does anything. Because I guess like things that could leave as gases will leave, but like a lot of the stuff that you're concerned about that plants don't like won't evaporate. They have to be either like distilled out or filtered out. So I would filter rather than leave it out. The only good reason to leave it out is for temperature, because you don't want to water your plants with either scalding hot water or ice cold water, because ain't nobody like jumping into an ice cold pool, and your plants don't like it either. You will shock your plant. Yeah, some people say that harmful things will evaporate out of the water. I'm not sure that it does. People are saying it lets the chlorine dissipate out. I don't know. You know what? I would be interested in an experiment but I would need like a chlorine test kit. You know what? It might be worth the purchase, frankly. Chlorine test kit shouldn't be too inexpensive. Or it shouldn't be too expensive, right? Because chlorine test kit is something you would need for a pool, right? But I would be curious to whether or not it does anything to leave it out overnight. The dog downstairs is barking again. So, real tea, there's a dog that lives downstairs, and that they let the dog on the balcony, and the dog just barks. The dog is so cute. It looks like a little Ewok, but oh my goodness. Like, can you not? I mean, he's really cute. I just wish that he wouldn't go out there and like yap. He's just because I can hear it from up here, and it's a little bit annoying, because it makes Clover freak out. Everyone's talking about the letting water sit out overnight. I really want to find out Like 100% I want to find out. I do. I might have to go explore this. So I need to change the thumbnail of this video just to say plants. Because there were no pets. There were no pets mentioned. There was just one scene. But I think that my plants are my pets sometimes. So I am so happy you guys came out to like chat plants with me or to hear me babble about plants. I am very passionate about the power that plants have in your overall environment, increasing your like overall hygge in your home, which I think is my whole deal, and everything that I'm really passionate about is the hygge. It doesn't look like it's pronounced hygge, but it is. It's like Swedish thing about your home being comfortable and cozy, and having the things you love around you. That is what I'm really passionate about, and I think that the icing on the cake to having a hygge environment is having some green, even if it's like one little thing of green. I encourage you, if you have fake plants, that you go out and buy one real one, and I promise you, if you keep it alive and it thrives, you will never buy a fake plant again. You will look at your fake plants with disdain. You will throw them away, and you will say, why did I ever bring you into my house in the first place? Unless you put it in a place with no windows, in which case it's fabulous. But real plants will increase your environment. Increase your environment will increase your enjoyment of your environment, and they'll bring you joy because it grows and thrives under your care. So I hope you guys are having a great week. I guess we'll talk about pets next week. So if you guys, I can hear the barking, it's so annoying. If you guys have any concerns about pet organization, because see, he can hear it too. He can hear it too. If you guys have any concerns about pet organization, whether it's dogs or cats, I have had both and set up organizing systems for both. We'll talk about that next week. And I guess you guys, we're done. We're done. And I'm done for the day because I've been up since 5 o'clock, you guys. Full talk. Full disclosure. I've been up since 5. Been working since 5. Well, it's not true. I played Animal Crossing for like an hour. But I've been working since 6. And 2 o'clock, we're shutting it down. So I hope you guys are having a great morning, great evening, wherever you are. And thanks for coming, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.